ExamPrep.School. Indiana Health Insurance Exam. There are 5 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Field underwriting procedures, health regulations, Indiana laws and department rules common to all lines, other insurance concepts, policy provisions, clauses, and riders, social insurance, types of policies. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under most individual disability income policies, total disability is defined as the insured's inability to perform the material and substantial duties of which occupation? A. Any occupation for which the insured is suited by education, training, or experience. B. Any occupation the insured is qualified to perform by past training or experience. C. The insured's regular occupation at the time the disability begins, as defined in the policy. D. Any single material duty of the insured's regular occupation, regardless of income loss magnitude. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is C. This option is correct because total disability under an individual disability income policy refers specifically to the inability to perform the material and substantial duties of the insured's regular occupation at the onset of the disability. Reason A is not correct. This describes an any occupation definition rather than the own occupation standard used for total disability. Reason B is not correct. This refers to inability to work in any occupation, which is broader than the own occupation definition for total disability. Reason D is not correct. This describes inability to perform only one duty, whereas total disability requires inability to perform all material and substantial duties. Question 2. Under a typical individual disability income policy, partial disability benefits are payable when the insured A. Is unable to perform any material and substantial duties of the regular occupation. B. Returns to work in a reduced capacity and suffers an income loss due to disability. C. Returns to full-time work, regardless of any ongoing income loss from disability. D. Performs only some duties of the regular occupation, but receives the full monthly benefit. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because partial disability benefits are triggered when the insured resumes work in a limited capacity and experiences a reduction in income due to the remaining effects of the disability. Reason A is not correct. This describes total disability, not partial disability. Reason C is not correct. Partial benefits do not depend on a full-time return. They apply only when income is lost. Reason D is not correct. Partial benefits pay a percentage of the full benefit, not the full monthly amount. Question 3. Which of the following formulas is used to calculate the residual disability benefit under a standard disability income policy? A. Post-disability earnings, pre-disability earnings, multiplied by selected monthly benefit. B. Pre-disability earnings, post-disability earnings, multiplied by monthly benefit. C. Loss of earnings, pre-disability earnings, multiplied by maximum monthly benefit. D. Months of disability beyond elimination period, benefit period, multiplied by monthly benefit. The correct answer is C. This option is correct because the residual disability benefit equals the ratio of lost earnings to pre-disability earnings multiplied by the policy's maximum monthly benefit. Reason A is not correct. This inverts the ratio and would understate the benefit amount. Reason B is not correct. This omits dividing by pre-disability earnings, resulting in an incorrect calculation. Reason D is not correct. This describes a benefit duration calculation rather than the residual benefit formula. Question 4. In a disability income policy, the elimination period differs from the benefit period because the elimination period A. specifies the maximum length of time benefits will be paid. B. represents the waiting period before benefit payments begin. C. defines the total duration for which income replacement is provided. D. determines the amount of the monthly benefit payable. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because the elimination period is the specified waiting period that must elapse after a qualifying disability before benefit payments commence. Reason A is not correct. This describes the benefit period, not the elimination period. Reason C is not correct. This also refers to the benefit period's duration rather than the waiting period. Reason D is not correct. Benefit amount is determined by the policy's benefit schedule, not the elimination period. Question 5. A neurosurgeon suffers a hand injury that prevents performing surgical procedures, but can still carry out administrative and consultative tasks. Under which disability definition would the neurosurgeon be considered totally disabled and eligible for full benefits? A. Under an own occupation definition, inability to perform neurosurgical duties qualifies as total disability with full benefits payable. B. Under an any occupation definition, since administrative duties remain feasible, total disability would not be met and no benefits would be payable. C. A presumptive disability clause pays benefits only for specified losses, which does not include loss of surgical ability. D. A residual disability provision provides only partial benefits proportional to lost earnings, not full benefit coverage. The correct answer is A. An own occupation definition treats inability to perform the material and substantial duties of one's specific profession as total disability, regardless of ability to work in another capacity. Reason B is not correct. This describes the any occupation outcome, denial of benefits. But the question asks which definition permits full benefits when specialized duties cannot be performed. Reason C is not correct. Presumptive disability only applies to specified losses like loss of limbs or sight, not to general inability to perform specialized professional duties. Reason D is not correct. Residual disability provides partial indemnity for reduced earnings, not the full benefit payable under a total disability definition. Question 6. Within an HMO structure, the primary care physician's gatekeeper role primarily involves which of the following? A. Underwriting eligibility for enrollee admissions into the HMO. B. Providing pre-authorization for specialty consultations within the plan's network. C. Performing retrospective audits of providers' claim submissions. D. Negotiating capitation rates for physicians with the HMO. The correct answer is B. The gatekeeper role entails pre-authorizing specialist consultations to manage utilization and costs before services are rendered. Reason A is not correct. Determining enrollee eligibility is an underwriting function, not a gatekeeper responsibility. Reason C is not correct. Retrospective claim audits occur after services and are handled by claims administrators. Reason D is not correct. Negotiating capitation is a financial arrangement made by the HMO, not performed by the PCP. Question 7. In a preferred provider organization, PPO, how do benefit levels typically differ for out-of-network services compared to in-network services? A. Lower coinsurance and waived deductibles for out-of-network care. B. Higher coinsurance with possible balance billing responsibilities. C. Mandatory pre-approval processes for services outside the network. D. Complete ineligibility for any non-network provider services. The correct answer is B. Out-of-network services in a PPO usually carry a higher coinsurance rate and may expose enrollees to balance billing for amounts exceeding plan allowances. Reason A is not correct. Out-of-network care typically has higher cost sharing rather than lower. Reason C is not correct. Pre-approval is characteristic of HMO. Gatekeepers, not PPO, out-of-network coverage. Reason D is not correct. Most PPOs still offer some coverage for out-of-network providers, not outright ineligibility. Question 8. Which of the following distinguishes a point-of-service POS plan referral requirement from that of a PPO? A. Permitting direct specialist consultations at in-network cost sharing without referral. B. Denying coverage for any specialist referral made outside the network. C. Obtaining primary care physician authorization before accessing out-of-network specialists. D. Waiving all cost-sharing requirements for referrals outside the plan's network. The correct answer is C. A POS plan uses the PCP as a gatekeeper for out-of-network referrals, requiring authorization to balance choice with cost control. Reason A is not correct. Direct specialist access at network rates without referral describes PPO features, not POS. Reason B is not correct. POS plans do not completely deny outside referrals but impose higher cost sharing without authorization. Reason D is not correct. Cost sharing is typically higher, not waived, for out-of-network referrals under a POS. Question 9. Raj selects a health plan that features a $1,800 annual deductible and a $6,000 out-of-pocket maximum. The plan waives the deductible for annual preventive exams, but also provides first-dollar coverage for generic prescription drugs. Which statement is correct regarding Raj's eligibility to contribute to a health savings account? A. He can contribute because preventive services are allowed before the deductible is met. B. He cannot contribute because preventive services cannot be covered before the deductible. C. He cannot contribute because the plan provides coverage for non-preventive services before the deductible. D. He can contribute only if he forgoes the pharmacy benefit. The correct answer is C. The plan is not a qualified HDHP for HSA purposes since it provides non-preventive prescription drug coverage before the deductible, disqualifying any HSA contributions. Reason A is not correct. Allowing preventive services before the deductible is permitted, but providing first-dollar coverage for non-preventive drugs violates HDHP requirements. Reason B is not correct. Preventive services are allowed to be covered before the deductible, so that statement is incorrect. Reason D is not correct. HSA eligibility is based on plan coverage features. Opting out of the pharmacy benefit is not a requirement. Question 10. Under Medicare, Part A hospital coverage, after the beneficiary pays the deductible for the first 60 days of inpatient care in a benefit period, for which subsequent days does the beneficiary pay a daily coinsurance rather than the full deductible? A. Days 61 through 90 of a benefit period. B. Days 1 through 60 of a benefit period. C. Days 91 through 150 of a benefit period. D. Lifetime reserve days after day 150 of a benefit period. The correct answer is A. Medicare Part A requires the beneficiary to pay a daily coinsurance for days 61 through 90 of inpatient hospitalization within each benefit period after the deductible is met. Reason B is not correct. The first 60 days require payment of the full Part A deductible, not coinsurance. Reason C is not correct. Days 91 through 150 involve extended hospital coverage and use of lifetime reserve days with different cost sharing. Reason D is not correct. Lifetime reserve days occur only after day 150 and carry a separate coinsurance structure. Question 11. After the annual Part B deductible is met, what percentage of the Medicare-approved amount does Medicare Part B pay for most covered physician services and durable medical equipment? A. 80% of the Medicare-approved amount. B. 75% of the Medicare-approved amount. C. 85% of the Medicare-approved amount. D. 90% of the Medicare approved amount? The correct answer is A. Once the yearly deductible has been satisfied, Medicare Part B pays 80% of the approved charge for most covered outpatient and physician services, leaving the remaining 20% as coinsurance. Reason B is not correct. Medicare Part B's statutory coverage rate is higher than 75%, so this percentage is incorrect. Reason C is not correct. An 85% coverage rate exceeds the actual Part B payment percentage. Reason D is not correct. A 90% coverage rate misstates the program's 80% payment requirement. Question 12. Which Medigap benefit combination most directly addresses her anticipated cost exposure? A. Payment of Part B deductible and skilled nursing facility copay. B. Coverage of Medicare Part A, inpatient coinsurance only. C. Payment of Part A deductible and Part B coinsurance. D. Coverage of excess charges and hospice coinsurance. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is payment of Part A deductible and Part B coinsurance, because this benefit eliminates both the hospital deductible and physician coinsurance gaps under Original Medicare. Reason A is not correct. It covers Part B deductible and SNF copay, but does not address the Part A hospital deductible or Part B coinsurance gaps. Reason B is not correct. It only covers inpatient coinsurance, leaving the Part A deductible and outpatient physician coinsurance unreimbursed. Reason D is not correct. It covers excess charges and hospice coinsurance, but fails to address the standard deductibles and coinsurance for hospital and physician services. Question 13. Under a typical employer-sponsored group health plan, which of the following best exemplifies an employee under a common law employee-employer relationship and thus meets the plan's eligibility requirements? A. A W-2 classified full-time production worker with federal payroll taxes withheld. B. A board member who volunteers time and receives no payroll compensation. C. A freelance graphic designer paid via 1099 for project-based assignments. D. A leased employee supplied by a professional employer organization. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is a W-2 classified full-time production worker with taxes withheld, which meets the common law employee criteria as defined in plan documents and IRS guidelines. Reason B is not correct. Volunteers with no payroll deductions do not meet the criteria of a bona fide employee under plan definitions. Reason C is not correct. Independent contractors receiving 1099 payments are excluded because they lack a common law employer-employee relationship. Reason D is not correct. Leased employees are not considered common law employees of the sponsoring employer unless specifically included by plan provisions. Question 14. In the context of employer-sponsored group health insurance, which of the following features correctly distinguishes a non-contributory plan from a contributory plan? A. Employees contribute to premium costs through payroll withholdings. B. Plan participants select and fund benefit options from a cafeteria-style menu. C. Enrollment is voluntary but requires at least 75% of eligible employees to participate. D. Employer pays the entire premium and mandates coverage for all eligible employees. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is that the employer pays the entire premium and mandates coverage for eligible employees, which defines a non-contributory plan designed to prevent adverse selection. Reason A is not correct. Having employees share premium costs through payroll deductions is a hallmark of contributory plans, not non-contributory. Reason B is not correct. Cafeteria-style funding relates to flexible benefits, which does not define the contributory status of a plan. Reason C is not correct. A 75% participation requirement applies to contributory plans as a minimum enrollment threshold, not non-contributory. Question 15. Sunrise Tech, a 50-employee firm, sponsors a group health plan through insurer Bright Health. After underwriting, Bright Health issues a master group policy to the employer and sends each covered employee a separate document outlining their benefits. Which term correctly describes the document sent to employees? A. Master group policy. B. Evidence of insurability. C. Summary plan description. D. Certificate of coverage. The correct answer is D. This option is correct because the insurer provides the master contract to the employer and a certificate of coverage to each participant, summarizing individual benefits under the group plan. Reason A is not correct. A master group policy is the contract issued to the employer, not the individual employees. Reason B is not correct. Evidence of insurability refers to health information submitted for underwriting, not the benefit summary document. Reason C is not correct. A summary plan description is an ERISA disclosure document, not the contractual certificate of coverage. Question 16. Which of the following is typically excluded from the basic activities of daily living, ADLs, used to trigger benefit eligibility under a standard long-term care insurance policy? A. Bathing independently. B. Dressing oneself. C. Toileting without assistance. D. Medication management. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is medication management, because standard long-term care policies use inability to perform basic ADLs, such as bathing, dressing, toileting, eating, transferring, and continence, as benefit triggers, whereas medication management is considered an instrumental activity of daily living, not a basic ADL. Reason A is not correct. Bathing independently is one of the core basic ADLs used to determine eligibility for long-term care benefits. Reason B is not correct. Dressing oneself is counted among the primary ADLs that insurers use as a trigger for benefit eligibility. Reason C is not correct. Toileting without assistance is considered a fundamental ADL and can trigger benefit payments when the insured cannot perform it independently. Question 17. Mr. Patel, age 85 with vascular dementia, can feed and dress himself without help, but frequently becomes disoriented and wanders away from home, risking falls and injury. His long-term care policy includes a cognitive impairment benefit trigger requiring a need for substantial supervision to protect health or safety. According to this trigger, which of the following situations would best qualify him for benefit payments? A. Needing someone to remind him daily to take prescribed medications on schedule. B. Occasional confusion during meals leading to skipped nutrition. C. Wandering behavior that requires continuous observation to prevent harm. D. Requiring assistance with dressing each morning due to tremors. The correct answer is C. This situation meets the policy's cognitive impairment trigger because the insured requires substantial supervision to protect health and safety due to wandering from home, satisfying the contract's definition. Reason A is not correct. Medication reminders are an instrumental ADL and do not satisfy the substantial supervision requirement for cognitive impairment triggers. Reason B is not correct. Intermittent mealtime confusion does not create a sustained need for supervision and thus fails to meet the policy trigger. Reason D is not correct. Physical assistance with dressing addresses a physical ADL need rather than the cognitive supervision requirement for safety protection. Question 18. What is the primary purpose of the entire contract provision in a health insurance policy? A. To allow statements made in the application to be binding only if attached and signed by an officer. B. To specify the policy's grace period before coverage lapses. C. To establish the insurer's contestability period for misrepresentations. D. To define that the policy endorsements, and attached papers constitute the complete agreement. The correct answer is D. This provision defines exactly which documents form the contract and prevents reliance on external statements not included in the policy and attachments. Reason A is not correct. This describes part of the application provision but does not address the complete agreement scope. Reason B is not correct. The grace period provision governs late payment, not contractual completeness. Reason C is not correct. Contestability is covered by the time limit on certain defenses, not the entire contract clause. Question 19. Which best describes the concept of the time limit on certain defenses provision in a health insurance policy? A. It permits the insurer to contest any material misrepresentation at any time. B. It defines intervals for premium adjustments under the policy. C. It sets the period during which an insured may reinstate a lapsed policy. D. It restricts the insurer to challenging misstatements only within a specified period, except in cases of fraud. The correct answer is D. This provision limits the insurer's right to void the policy for misstatements to a defined period, commonly 2 years, except when fraud is involved. Reason A is not correct. This incorrectly suggests an unlimited contestability period, which the provision restricts. Reason B is not correct. Premium adjustments are addressed elsewhere and are unrelated to contestability time limits. Reason C is not correct. The reinstatement provision, not this clause, governs lapsed policy restoration. Question 20. What function does the grace period provision serve in a health insurance policy when a premium payment is overdue? A. It ensures coverage continues for a specified time after a missed payment before lapse. B. It allows the insurer to rescind the policy if a premium remains unpaid. C. It defines the period during which misstatements can be contested. D. It establishes requirements for reinstating a lapsed policy. The correct answer is A. The grace period provision gives the insured extra days after a missed premium deadline, during which coverage remains in force, preventing immediate policy lapse. Reason B is not correct. Rescission is governed by contestability or time limit provisions, not the grace period. Reason C is not correct. Contestability relates to misstatements, not overdue premiums. Reason D is not correct. Reinstatement covers lapsed policies after grace period, a separate provision. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.